Troops! Amateurs! I am shooting a viral video here. Enough! Save it for the video.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, here to talk to you about the sequel to the Batman movie you may have never seen, Batman Unlimited, Monster Mayhem. Now, I didn't really enjoy the previous entry, and I understand that it was obviously made for a much younger demographic, but I don't think that that's really a deciding factor when it comes to quality. Because there have been a lot of products made for a younger audience that a lot of older fans still really enjoy. I mean, if that wasn't the case, then bronies wouldn't exist. And Lord, do I really wish bronies didn't exist. Sorry, Alan, it is what it is.
What? Say something now. Twilight on top, bitch. Twilight on top.
But all in all, I'm more than ready to admit that this is much, much, much more entertaining than the last movie. And while it isn't something that I would actively go out of my way to watch otherwise, I still really enjoyed the ride this time around. This is a lot more fun than the first in its lineup. Honestly, it's not even worth attempting to compare the two. This is head and toes better, and I'm gonna tell you why. As previously stated, the movie is a much more overall entertaining product than the last entry. It feels like there's a little bit more story this time around. The plot is pretty coherent and pretty consistent, and otherwise there's just a lot of fun to be had all throughout. Of course, just like in the first film, comedic campiness takes center stage, but this time around the jokes feel like they pack more of a punch. And I found myself actually audibly laughing at some of the jokes this movie makes.
I'm just Pizza Man! Fire! You don't like pizza? The camera adds 10 pounds.
Yes? How many cameras are on you? 10?
You gotta be kidding me.
It's really relieving to watch a funny Batman movie that's, well, actually funny. The jokes are both greater in terms of quantity and quality. There's a lot more of them, and they're a lot more funny than in its predecessor. Even the puns and gags that are a little bit lame aren't groan-worthy or sigh-inducing. They're still chuckle-worthy. So this is really an improvement. And what I love is that this movie is so unapologetically goofy that I can't help but laugh at it, and more importantly, laugh with it. The characters from the previous entry in the series return to this one, adding a few new faces along the way. Now, I've spoke previously about the voice cast in my last video, but as for the new additions, they're also mostly pretty great. Joining his Arkham Origins opposite is Troy Baker, reprising his role of the Joker. And I feel very similarly about him here, as I feel about Roger Craig Smith as Batman in this. In Arkham Origins, they were cast to deliver a direct impersonation of other interpretations of the characters. But here, because they're not being asked to do that, these roles feel like they are their own. While there are still definitely lingering elements of the past performances, it does feel and sound slightly different from their last time in the roles. Khary Payton, who will always be the definitive voice of the character for me, returns to the role of Cyborg. He's a very accomplished voice actor, but you may know him from his time in Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. I also enjoy Cedric Yarbo's performance as Silas Stone. He may not have a lot to do, but his voice is very fitting for the character. And for a guy who's so versed in comedy, it's nice to hear him take on a more down-to-earth and serious role, even if that role isn't a comedic Batman movie. Fred Tatasciore once again brings to life the undead Solomon Grundy, just as he's done before in the Arkhamverse, the Injustice series, and Lego games. And the guy really does some fantastic work. Noel Fisher, who I'm a pretty big fan of from his time on Shameless, and of course, most importantly, his time in Max Keeble's Big Move. Underrated classic. Here, he gives a pretty forgettable performance as game developer Gogo Shoto. It's not his fault or anything, it's just, this isn't exactly a breakout role. There wasn't a lot asked of him, so there's not a lot for him to deliver. And if there was one particular character that stood out as a highlight in this movie, it would undoubtedly be Solomon Grundy, who is just consistently delivering comedy gold. And at times, pizzas. The depiction of the character is still completely true to the source. The only difference is now he's being played for laughs. And my man is getting them because he is hilarious.
Grundy, good actor.
When it comes to style, I've made it clear I didn't exactly love the art style of the first one. And that's mostly the same here. I don't find any of these newer models to be horrendously bad or anything, but they're just bland, blatant and basic. The characters are so simple looking that they almost look like what would happen if the artist from Family Guy made a Batman cartoon. Like this Joker, look at this Joker. There's nothing really wrong with it, right? But there's not a whole lot of anything going on here. Because that is in fact the way the Joker looks, but it's such a standard by-the-numbers take on the character. It's not doing anything different, it's not trying anything new, it's just doing what has already been done, but significantly less impressive. All I can say is, what a spectacularly unspectacular design of the Joker. You like that? That's what we call a callback. And this is also pretty much the case with almost everybody. Except for an exception or two. Both Solomon Grundy and Silver Banshee look like they've been ripped out of other continuities. They look like the models from the Justice League show, or even the Batman Superman movies. And considering that they're the first two characters we see in this movie, it really threw me off for a minute or two there. This movie gaslit me into thinking I was somehow watching a movie outside of its continuity. As soon as it started playing, I was just thinking, did I somehow accidentally turn on Justice League Unlimited? There was also a scene a bit later in the runtime where Joker dons a hat, and I was getting some serious Batman the Animated Series vibes. I mean, we were late into the game here, so I knew what I was watching, but yeah, that looked familiar. One thing that really bugs me about the series, though, is that every single character looks like they were both born and raised inside a gym. Like, why are all these guys so jacked? This isn't a complaint in regards to the heroes, but a Scarecrow? Jonathan Crane? The frail psychotic psychiatrist? The man who hid behind a mask to induce fear in others because he lived his life in fear of others? I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. But then again, it doesn't feel nearly as wrong as Buff Penguin from the last movie. The plot is pretty simple, as this is a movie that's aimed at Robin-aged fans, and not Batman-jaded ones. And I definitely fall into the later category. The Joker, Scarecrow, Silver Banshee, Solomon Grundy, and Clayface form what has to be the most random assortment of antagonists to ever team together. However, you can't dispute the results, because the team actually takes down and takes over Gotham City. After the Joker unleashes a laughing computer virus, no, you did not mishear me, Joker unleashes a laughing computer virus that cuts off power to the city. What are even the words coming out of my mouth? The virus not only affects a lot of the team's gadgets, but also affects the robotic bike/bat hound Ace and new team ally Cyborg. Joker promises the city temporary access to their televisions should they rat out the bat, thus potentially turning the whole city against the heroes that are sworn to protect it. The League of Heroes Who Fight for Justice, you know, they should really come up with a name for that league. Managed to save the video game creator who helped the bad guys hack the city after they kidnapped him, because that was a plot point that happened. And while this genius can't shut down his virus, he instead creates a virus for the virus. Of course!
I deleted the virus!
The good guys round up the bad guys, Batman defeats the Joker in the virtual world, only to have him face him one more time in the real world, where he becomes a Mecha Joker, and then is promptly defeated once again, because that is kind of how these things go. The fight scenes are pretty basic but effective and entertaining. There's not any crazy choreographed battles, but there are some interesting sequences of events. I really like this nod and cameo of both the original Robin and Nightwing costumes. It's a really nice touch, and yet something so small was able to put a smile on my face. Wait, nobody clip that and take it out of context. But in all seriousness, this moment was very welcome fan service. I like that this Clayface is the horribly underused, underrated, and underutilized Basil Karlo, who is by far my favorite Clayface. And I also like that they play up the character's acting roots. Ultimately, this rendition of the character really feels like the prelude to what the Harley Quinn show would wind up doing with the character. And once again, this is another performance that's true to the source material, but just flipping the script and now playing it for laughs. I love that. I love when a continuity can take a character that you know and love, and not change anything about them, but just shine a different light on them. Maybe highlight some of the traits that come along with being them that are usually not focused on. I think that's brilliant. It's easy to do, but it's not often done. This movie doesn't make a whole lot of allusion to the first film, but I do think for the sake of continuity, it was a nice touch having Tim Drake fight off and then try to plead with a corrupted Cyborg. In the last movie, he basically talked Man-Bat out of his natural instinct. And this time around, he's attempting to debug a former Teen Titan using a heart-to-heart. And also, I know I mentioned it in my last video, but I still really love what they did with Ace. It's a different take on the character, and it's also kinda cute. I mean, personally, I prefer the Batman Beyond treatment, but this is nice too. I don't know if it ranks as my second favorite depiction of the Ace character, because I think Crypto the Superdog had the most adorable version of the character I've ever seen, but it's definitely riding up into the number 3 spot, for sure. For sure. Joker taking over the city and crowning himself Emperor Joker, and then taking to the virtual world to alter Batman, is very reminiscent of the Emperor Joker story. It's a nice reference, and I like that they altered previously created content to better fit in with the movie's narrative. Of course, there are some things about this that do get under my skin, though. Like when we see Clayface can not only transform into different people, but different animals and shapes as well. The guy literally becomes a dinosaur, and then 30 seconds later sits in the car silently when Solomon Grundy tells Joker that there's no room for him in their escape vehicle. Like, you can literally transform into an ant. There is no reason Joker had to plan for an Uber. That's just being selfish. Another thing that bothers me, Nightwing breaks mirrors only to have it trigger fear gas. And then to solve his problem, he breaks more mirrors. Like, why would you expect any other outcome? How have you not learned your lesson yet? I mean, of course, because this is Batman Unlimited, it ends up working out for him. But yeah, that was a dumb plan. Seeing Joker ride around in an ice cream truck makes sense, but I can't help but think of another psychotic, murderous lunatic clown driving an ice cream truck. I've definitely seen this before. And Red Robin feeding Clayface fast-acting cement does seem like it would kill him. Like that's a murder, Robin. Like that's against the code. I'm pretty sure even if a man is made out of clay, he is still a man nonetheless. Bruce, you gotta have a talk with this kid. He's just out here doing things that I don't even know. I don't even know where to begin. But hey, this movie isn't for me. It's for my kids, which I don't have. So it is what it is. And honestly, it's not bad. Now, I know I already said that this installment was better than the previous one, but I want to emphasize that I'm not just judging this on a curve. I'm not tolerating this movie. I'm not saying that this is a good movie in comparison to the last one. I actually enjoyed this movie. Whereas with the last one, I did not whatsoever. I did not at all. But surprisingly, yes, I am quite fond of Batman Unlimited Monster Mayhem. If you're into Batman projects that take themselves less seriously, I highly recommend checking this one out. You won't be sorry that you did. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see me review the last Batman Unlimited movie in the lineup, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying,
Good night, Gotham City!
With all that being said, I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
Over and out. When I say over and out, you cut it.
So, now?
Yes, now!
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.